if you're someone who considers themselves real and you make a conscious promise with God, right, with source, that you will not watch porn or you will not do any degenerate activity that you're trying to, rid from your life ever again. If you make that conscious promise, you kind of have to keep that, right? I hope you guys are having a peaceful and insightful full moon period. I like to have a cigar as a personal ritual around the full moon, and I like to reflect and think about, the last 14 days, the last month. Just really think about things, how everything, just, being at peace with the things that did go on and how they went on, and being at peace with them. Really just reflecting. And I think it's important to have personal rituals, right? And this is one of mine. Now, I'm not some, addict who's out here abusing, nicotine and cigars, but with the right intentions, tobacco and things like that. Some of you guys understand it's a nootropic, and with the right intentions, you can do a lot with this stuff. It's been about 20 days since the video that I recorded on porn, and I guess it resonated with a lot of you guys. I want to piggyback off of something. Authenticity, being authentic and being real. They talk about real ones being real, like he's real. I think being authentic with myself, being authentic with, with me, it was a big part of me quitting that stuff. And I just have to always think about how certain people are comfortable, doing something dark like that behind closed doors, and then going out and shaking another man's hand, or or looking people in the eye. There's something about it that's just very inauthentic. And me being me, and I'm sure many of you guys are like this, even if you're struggling, if you're truly a conscious individual, yes, the addiction, the reprogramming your brain and the habits, all that stuff, I get it, right? It's just years and years of programming, so the habit is there. But one of the things that broke me free from this trap was the fact that I wasn't being authentic with myself. You know what I mean? I use this example. I created this entire example in my mind, and it actually drives me, right? So check this out. Imagine you're driving in the middle of nowhere, right? And for really 100 miles in every direction, you're on a motorcycle, so you don't have space for anyone else. And, 100 miles every direction, there's no sign of life. There's no human, there's no one there. Okay, cool. You're driving there, you got a full tank, you're good. You're driving and you see a dad and two kids. This scenario plays out in my head. Guys, the mind is so powerful in similar attention. I visualize scenarios and use them to teach myself, if that makes sense. I use them as fuel. And this scenario, I've thought about this, it's been years, It keeps me in check. As a man, your word is the only thing you have. So in that scenario, you're driving 100 miles every direction, there's no life. You come across a dad, a man, and his two children. And he needs something from you, right? He might need a ride. He's stuck. Whatever it is that he needs from you. But okay, you can't help him right now, and you're telling him, yo, I'm gonna go over there. It's gonna take a minute, an hour or two, maybe longer, maybe 5 hours, there and back. I'm gonna find someone to come back and get you, because I can't get you guys on my bike. And he's like, all right. And that's all you have, right? Right then and there, the only thing that you have, only thing that man has as hope is your word as a man, right? And he's counting on that. So if you're someone who's conscious, you know what I mean? That's a responsibility. So your word has a lot of weight. More synchronicity. So I was on X and I saw a post by one of the guys I follow, and I think he's a very good follow. A lot of high vibrational content on here. A lot of food for thought. And he goes, listen, if love vibrates at 500, but authenticity 4,000, that means the truth of who you are is 8 times more powerful than any feeling you chase. Love is something you feel. Authenticity is something you become. And when you become it, everything real starts moving towards you. No force, no fakery, no need to beg. Just raw alignment and the universe falling to its knees in front of your signal. So next time you think love is the highest frequency, ask yourself, are you chasing a feeling or remembering what you really are? Because love, she'll hold your hand, but authenticity, she'll split timelines. She doesn't whisper, she doesn't beg, she detonates illusions and makes a matrix glitch. Now, there are a couple of things that I might not fully agree with. I think love is up there when it comes to the frequency, but this makes me think, authenticity is up there as well. Whether it's, loving yourself or loving others, love and authenticity, I feel like, go hand in hand. Years ago, I made a pact with the architect. Now, I'm not the most religious person. I always tell you guys this, but I'm very spiritual, obviously. I made a promise to the architect, right? God, source, however you see it. And my promise was that I would never do certain things ever again. I would never watch certain things ever again. I would never partake in certain behaviors ever again. And I noticed that when I made that promise, there was a shift internally, right? And as a man who respects his word, I know that even behind closed doors, oh, okay, no one's watching. There's no one really watching, right? That's how most people think about it. Oh, they believe in God, right? They believe in a higher power, but in their minds, no one's really watching when they're doing it. Well, I know that I'm being watched, and I know that I made a promise with the Most High that I wouldn't touch certain things ever again. So that's been something that's kept me on track on my journey. And I think for those of you guys who consider themselves real, I don't care how deep your addiction is, if you're someone who considers themselves real and you make a conscious promise with God, right? With source, that you will not watch porn or you will not do any degenerate activity that you're trying to, rid from your life ever again. If you make that conscious promise, you kind of have to keep that, right? Assuming you're someone with, you're authentic and you've got self-respect. This is a perspective. I know it's very simple, but this is something that's very powerful, at least for me. I can't go back to doing anything. I can't go back to that stuff. You know what I mean? I can't go back to degenerate behavior because I've got a promise with a higher power. So that's something, for example, that's kept me in line for years now. Operating with a clear conscience, there's nothing like it. I've mentioned this so many times. It feels so different. It's so comfortable. I can shake someone's hand. I can look you in the eyes. I'm not hiding anything. I'm not a fraud. I'm not inauthentic. This is a big part with your aura as well, right? People think they can go and sim your attention and just have the same benefits as someone who's really being pure, right, and authentic to himself. No. Authenticity is a vibration, right? And inauthenticity is a vibration as well. So pick a side. Funny enough, it's always the most simple things that have the biggest effect. And I've got some guys on Discord who are hip to this, but sometimes asking your guides or the architect or God, source, whatever it is that you believe in, asking for guidance, asking for protection against certain things is some of the strongest things you could do. If you guys were told that, you can't watch porn for 60 days in order to free your kid that got kidnapped, you're not going to let your kid just remain in captivity. You're going to stop watching porn, I'm sure of that. So why can't you hack your brain right now to stop doing any of that stuff? You know what I mean, guys? So when people see guys on long streak, I don't think my streak or my stint on retention is anything special. I think any man can do it. As a matter of fact, when people, compliment me or act a certain way because I did this, it kind of feels weird to me because, again, I think any of you guys can do it. It's nothing special, right? Hack your brain. You can hack your brain. You can create simulations in your mind that keep you accountable, right? That hold you accountable. Like the example I gave you guys in the beginning. Come on, this shit is straightforward. This is why I'm always saying it's a choice. You guys can choose to cut something out. I know people who've cut cigarettes cold turkey, but then again, you've got courses and programs and all this stuff on it. But then there's some people who just, like your reasoning as to why you're doing certain things, if it's there, I don't see why you can't, win. Yeah, man, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I've been, baking in this natural sauna. I love coming out in the sun and just baking and, detoxing naturally. I hope what I said stuck, because it's really that powerful, guys. You guys have heard of, the Pareto's principle, 80-20 rule. 80% of the results are usually due to 20% of the effort. 80% of the clothes in your closet, you wear 20% of the time. So on and so forth, guys. It's usually the simple little things that have the biggest impact. And I just told you one of them.